Okey. Baik. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh dan selamat pagi semua. Sekali lagi. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh dan selamat pagi semua. Joi. Masih kantuk dari semalam lagi ke? Belum makan lagi? Ke sarapan lagi pagi ni? Tak apa. Okay, nanti kita tukar aktiviti kita buat lagi ekstrim sikit untuk sesi tengah time ni. Alright. Baik. Dan sebelum semalam we stop. I know sepatutnya kita touch a bit on module 3, tapi I wanted to get the clarity on your level of conflict in the workplace. Not every place is a toxic environment, not every place, for example, sector, not every place is is hunky-dory kan? Not every place is hunky-dory kan? So, I just wanted to get your feedback on the levels of certain types of miscommunications as well as the conflict yang betul-betul ada lah kan? Because I don't believe I ajar you how to become conflict counselor. I don't believe the way to approach this is to teach you to become a conflict counselor. They are professionals and they have experience. If we try ourselves to become a conflict counselor, takut a lot of mismanagement happens instead of benefits. Okay? So baik. So our foray into conflict is actually started yesterday. Most of the communication tools and communication modules yang saya ajar semalam is targeted for number one, just to build a strong foundation. Because if you don't have those modules, whatever management that you want to put, how you want to do, how do you want to approach the conflict akan terurai macam tu saja. Because you don't have a strong foundation, right? You don't understand certain things. When we talk about communication, maybe you perceive communication is just talking, giving instructions, asking people to follow instructions as opposed to understanding the issues and the person themselves. Right? Okay? And now when we deal with conflict, we have a good foundation. So we just refer back to the strong foundation, the strong foundation and the modules that we have learned yesterday. Refer back to the communication basics, how do we approach them, how do we understand them, instead of looking at the conflict by itself, right? Okay. Now, our module 3 will focus on business conflict, conflict cognitive, conflict cognitive, dan konflik interpersonal, dan faktor dan konflik yang terlalu. Okay, moving on. Right. So, what is a conflict? Right. Conflict is a serious disagreement or argument, typically a protracted one. Benda ni jarang berlaku sekejap macam tu saja. Right. In rare cases, in certain cases macam accident, yes. Usually bila hilangkan orang atau orang nak gayu, immediately there's immediate conflict. Pencetus kemarahan tu ada situ. And when there's an incompatibility or variance is crashing. So when two or more persons are crashing, not just in a physical manner, but also at an intellectual, emotional and behavioral manner, as we discussed yesterday. Right? Now, I purposely am teaching you the phases of conflict, quote unquote the pre-conflicts, usually miscommunication, all of those things you learned yesterday. The precursor to any conflict would be disagreement. Okay? Bukan salah faham, dia tidak sefahaman. Dia bukan salah faham, but diorang tidak bersefahaman. It can be salah faham, punca dia salah faham. But ideally, realistically, diorang, pemahaman saya dengan pemahaman you regarding one issue berbeza. That's it. Siapa salah tu is not really up to that stage yang kita akan buat dulu. Tentukan, oh you salah faham, I salah faham. No, that's not the stage. Okay? Basically, we have a different belief. If you will, we have a different belief of one issue. Okay? Pemahaman kita tak sama, right? So mostly this is based on opinions and sometimes emotions. So it's not regarded as fact. That's why when yesterday I keep talking about whether there's a lot of emotional component on it. Focus on the facts, because the facts are there, but when emotions are high, there's a lot of opinions. I feel, I think, right? And there are different levels on those set opinion. For example, If you think about politics, there's a lot of conflict in politics. For us lah, certain people and normal people, low stakes. It's very low stakes. Or say for nak politicize certain things and sebagainya, very low stakes for us. For them, it might be at a high level stake. They might be like their livelihood. It might be their agenda, right? It's very high stakes. So again, it's at different levels, right? The main point is that regardless of whatever you perceive, whether that person is right or wrong, we don't have the same understanding. Pemahaman kita tak sama. And most likely that if we try to clash itself, the more that we clash, the more we are apart in the understanding. Orang ni masih mati-mati nak push agenda dia, mati-mati nak convert my belief into their belief, which is not true. Contohlah, right? So bila ada conflict, when it goes from a disagreement to a conflict, right, it becomes more complicated when the emotional phenomena, when there's an emotional response of perceiving. Basically, whenever perceiving maksudnya dia rasa, they feel. It might not be true, right? About their interference or about the threat or interference of their interest, values or this. So maksud dia bawa benda-benda confident is personal to me. Is personal to me, is personal for them, right? Certain people are professionals. Of course, yesterday ramai yang mungkin ada sad realization, especially as a public servant, that we are not supposed to have emotions, especially we are not allowed to show any emotions at work, especially when dealing with the public, kan? As public servants, right? So, but when other people can, and when they bring, sometimes we feel, hey, you're interfering with my beliefs. It becomes personal to me because whatever that I feel is true, whatever values that I hold, you are disregarding those values, right? So there's a lot of conflict. Contoh. Maybe we will talk about the younger generation. They perceive that the old guards, all of those checks and balances, the QC, the KPIs are installed for them to impede their growth. Oh, orang tua ni, orang sini takut I ambil kerja dia. They perceive. Of course, I can tell you, without shadow doubt, at 99% of the time, it is not true. But it's still their perception. It is true, right? If you either give strong evidence or strong consolation to show them that it's not true, or they will forever believe it, right? Okay. And of course, when we talk about emotional, does logic come with emotions? Emotions complicate logic. I would not say emotions is antagonistic to logic. Emotions will complicate logic, right? So their way of thoughts might not be the same because of all the perceived threats, perceived interference, perceived negative values that the other person have, right? It might not be true, right? As I mentioned, we're going to do one exercise later to show you how certain perception which we think might be good can easily be twisted into something else. Okay? Boleh? So now you know. So if can I have a show of hands? Tak apa, semua orang kat tangan lah. Everybody can you please raise up your hands? Tak apa, semua orang kat tangan dulu. It's an exercise where kalau if I say if it's true, you can you can put down your hands. Okay, semua orang kat tangan dulu. I just want to see because I think everybody has it. Okay. Has there been any vocal or loud disagreement that happens between you and your team or within your team members in the office? Pernah berlaku loud disagreements? Boleh turun tangan. Loud disagreement. It's not conflict yet. Loud disagreements. Kalau ada turun tangan. Tak ada turun tangan. Loud disagreements that happen in your office. Wow, faham kan? Yang dressing, is it worse or better? Better. Okay. Alright. Now let's eliminate extreme. Has there been any incident of tak usah yang angkat tangan tu, maaf kan, aku angkat tangan ni. Has there been any case of any physical conflict, physical, benda bergerak lah, It might not. Mungkin tangan bergerak, mungkin stapler bergerak, mungkin bangku bergerak in the office. Okay, we eliminate those extremes. Okay, has there been civil disagreement? Civil disagreement that jurang gaduh tapi gaduh at room noise at office noise level, and at the end of the discussion or disagreement that they are still not not in power with each other, but they didn't evolve it into quote unquote being petty or emotional at the end. Ada civil disagreement, right? Alright, yang ni semua happy go lucky lah. Happy go lucky. Environment. Tak ada pembalahan, tiada miscommunication berlaku, tiada semua. Right, okay. Alright, turun tangan. I just want to eliminate the extremes lah, right? Right. So roughly 50% moderate, 50% moderate, 20% very mild, and alhamdulillah none of the extremes lah. Right, I just wanted to see the room lah, right? Good. Why? Because it follows the same pattern, right? Unless you physically clash with somebody, usually it comes with a disagreement or conflict. Disagreement then it evolves into conflict. Boleh Right? And suka tak suka, the root cause of it is still the same. Different differences in understanding, and the slight kita terasa, whether we're right or wrong, kita terasa, and also on the offending part, kita terasa, hey, I'm up to a certain professional standard. Why are you doing this? Now I am mad at you, not because you are voicing your concern, not because you have a wrong view. I am mad at you because I leave myself up to standard. Why are you not following social rules? Why are you not following social norms? I feel slighted when you're not doing the things that I uphold to a standard. Contohlah, cutting in line. I feel slighted. It doesn't carry any physical connotation, so it doesn't physically impact me in any way. Sebab kata, kita nak masyarakat berjaya, komuniti rohani, jaga komuniti. You tak dorang ajar you kerja potong lain. I feel slighted not because you physically impact me, but you are not living up to the social norms that I value, right? So again, you are getting personal lah. You are personally affected by somebody else's quote unquote potong lain je, very mild action, So again, you feel slighted as well, right? All emotions come into play, right? Now, there's always a root cause, but and supposedly there's supposed to be an end point lah, but the conflict cycle has that effect. Okay, it becomes worse and worse. So that's why when I talked about yesterday, I wanted to teach you how to identify at which level and try to, number one, take preventive measures, mitigation actions, and then finally deal with the problem if it happens lah, right? First of all, at the conflict, this is an evolving with emotions, wave of emotions with the conflict. You have discomfort in the body, discomfort in the mind, you react emotionally, and that's the problem with conflict. Our emotions will react first before our mind and our body will react. Our feelings get hurt, right? And when we lose our perspective, that's when we start to react physically, because our emotions are not well regulated. We need a strong stimuli, and we lose our perspective. You don't know what's happening, you just know that you want to react, and that is the quote unquote normal reflex. But of course, there's no such thing as emotional reflex, bukan saraf kan. So that's quote unquote reflex, and usually that becomes worse. And you know this is an emotional response when you know that whatever that you do, the discomfort, the pain, the sakit hati does not subside on whatever that you do. Right? Because conflict happens, right? So, right? The state of emotions. Okay? So this becomes a toxic cycle, right? A toxic cycle. So that's why I highly push on strong communication basics to prevent misunderstandings from happening, to prevent those misunderstandings from evolving into conflict, and for you to deal with the conflict that probably at that point is moderate to severe level, not at the mild level, and moderate to severe level, right? Because it would push itself, right? Yes, of course, it's easy to say, oh, janganlah react emotionally. We literally cannot ask people to control their emotions. Literally cannot. Physically, we can restrain them, but we cannot physically or emotionally physically restrain their emotions, right? Okay? Kalau dipaksa diorang, sabar biasa kan? Kalau sabar kan? Okay? Now, yesterday we talked about this. Now, the most important thing for you is identify. Alright. Now, instead of I minta semua orang kat tangan, semua orang penat tangan kan? Right. So, do you or any semalam kita cerita about your tips kan? Do you I don't want to assume you yourself lah, or anyone under your team, under your supervision, or anyone in your particular team, sometimes up or down, that you deal directly has intrapersonal conflict, which is they have conflict within themselves. Intrapersonal conflict. Boleh? Anybody? Boleh angkat tangan? Ni yang bagus kalau healthcare dah confirm intrapersonal conflict with the diagnosis. Mana tahu healthcare kan? You guys in healthcare dapat ease of access, easy referral, dapat diagnosis. And do you or anyone that you know has intrapersonal conflict, i.e. they have conflict within themselves? Right? Usually it doesn't involve other people, which is good, but it involves work performance by themselves, and it involves the group's work performance by itself without really you masuk sini and libatkan orang lain. Okay? So far okay, good. Oh good, very good. I think in the healthcare setting you can easily put them out lah. It's good. Not to say that this doesn't happen, it does happen. Okay, let's go on to the next stage. Interpersonal conflict. 2 or more people. Less than 5 lah, less than 5. Kalau 5 tu ada groups lah kan. Okay, 2 or more people at odds with each other. Or in a ada seorang kita katakan Habib, right? Or senang cerita, kalau you sendiri tahu orang ni tak suka satu sama lain, oh dia ni tak boleh kerja ni, dia ni tak boleh pen. Ada? Boleh angkat tangan siapa yang ada ni? Angkat tangan, just on the scene. Oh, roughly more than half, about 70-80%. Right, okay, good. So you have to do extra, you as supervisors, as team leaders, have to do extra work, walk on eggshells just to make sure those two don't work together. Oh, other case they have to work together.
Yeah.
And your expectations? Bagi kes sejak Afif lah, sebab saya semua takut semua orang ada situasi sama. Sejak Afif,
sebelum saya jadi pegawai, saya ada basic dengan guru ni, so saya tahu apa isu
individu lah.
Maksudnya dalam satu grup.
Okay.
So saya nampak ada crack lah, maknanya ada belahan, terbelah.
So ada kuat.
Terbelah. So bila jadi macam tu, jadi macam bila saya nak tutup crack tu, umpama jadikan neutralize kan. Sebab ada satu point neutralize, ada satu point neutral. So bila jadi macam tu, bila kerjasama, dia akan efek lah perkhidmatan. Orang ni akan mengadu saya, orang ni mengadu. Bila kita dengar aduan di pihak macam ni, aduan pihak dia orang ni macam ni, dia kontrol dua-dua side. So bila macam tu, saya rasa bila letak sekali, kita boleh nampak dia punya senario tu, nampak dia punya kejanggalan bila kerjasama tu. Nampak?
Boleh saya tanya, you put them together lah, you paksa diorang be together
dengan jadual tu kan.
Oh, jadual tu kan.
Dengan
you sengaja lah.
Dengan sengaja saya letak supaya saya tengok.
Okay, alright.
Sebab kita nak tengok.
You tengok. And any additional steps ataupun just that?
Dari kalau dari segi cara surat yang nampak memang tak tadi.
Okay.
Tapi bila dibalik sebalik tabir tu kita boleh nampak lah.
And then that's it lah. You just try to let them work themselves out lah.
Jadi saya cuba nak tudaskan kadang tu, cuba nak tutupkan benda tu. Tapi itulah terlampau banyak
Masih ada lagi lah. Okay. Alright. Okay.
benda.
Alright. Thank you very much. This is at a higher level. Please remind me to answer level. Answer that question. I think because this one can be quote unquote intergroup. Intergroup. Let me just define intergroup first to see whether it qualifies or not. So intergroup, there would be dalam bahasa Inggeris cliques lah. It's like macam sekolah rendah sekolah menengah pula clique kan. So it's kind of like dalam bahasa Melayu dia puak lah, puak. So it can be more than two, but usually there's like a group of people believing there's a certain in some scenario they are right. There's also a group of people believing that they are wrong or they are right. There's a zero-sum game understanding is that for me to be right, they have to be wrong. So if there's no way that both of us are right, so it's either they're wrong or I'm wrong, and I am going to fight for my belief, not physically lah, fight for my belief that I am right. So adakah scenario tu ataupun ni orang A, orang B, orang C, bukan 3 orang kat sini, 4 orang kat sini, 3 orang kat sini. Which scenario is it?
Saya cuba letak yang satu pot tu dalam satu kertas.
Puak tu maksud dia lebih satu orang. Oh, lebih dari satu orang. Okey.
Dalam duty yang sama. Lepas tu saya cuba asingkan. Kita
Okey.
tengok dalam sama, kita boleh nampak dia punya di mana pihak lagi satu kita rasa macam nampak sangat lah.
Okay, I understand. So there's a dalam scenario ni there's a intergroup conflict. Puak, they separate individuals within that puak into another puak, right? Okay, so it's an intergroup conflict, but your management would be some form of interpersonal conflict. Okay, good. Thank you very much. Please remind me to answer that later. Let me just bagi simple dulu. Individual A, individu B. Let's not make it complicated. 2 orang je lah. Tak nak sebab tu dah lebih tu boleh ya, but still 2 orang ni. Ada tak? Anybody wants to share? Orang ni tak boleh kerja dengan orang ni. Ada? Anybody? Boleh Wan Mimi boleh tolong bagi case tak? Senang. Just for us to understand.
Kalau pengalaman saya ada, dia memang bekerja ni 2 orang je.
Okey, bagus.
Dalam satu tempat.
Okey.
Tapi dia tak link each other.
Adakah sebab diorang nak compliment, maksudnya kita susah nak buat 2 orang buat satu kerja, kita berasingan ataupun kita tak bersemuka sebab kita nak buat 2 kerja-kerja yang complement each other, yang berasingan tapi complement with the work, with the job task ataupun
Jadi kerja yang sama.
Kerja yang sama.
Kerja yang sama.
Memang wajib buat kerja yang sama.
Memang wajib buat kerja sama.
Okey.
Tapi dia tak macam mana nak cakap yang seorang ni dia ada dia punya konflik dia sendiri.
Maybe because everybody is in the healthcare sector, you can give specific examples pun boleh for everybody else to understand lah. Macam contohnya, orang ni kena, contoh tadi filing, orang ni pun kena buat filing juga.
Okey lah, ni just for share.
Okay, ya.
Mungkin ada yang tahu, mungkin tak tahu lah. Kalau dekat tempat saya, di bahagian pencetakan.
Okay.
So pencetakan tu apalah benda yang sama je lah. Dia akan sorting paper, dia akan print, dia akan kira balik berapa tu semua kan. Tapi yang seorang ni dia lebih kepada dia banyak buat kerja.
Okay.
Yang seorang ni asyik tak ada.
Okay.
Ada konflik dekat situ.
Okay.
Tapi dia tak bercakap. Dia orang berdua ni dia tak akan bercakap. Yang akan bercakap adalah yang seorang ni akan mengadu dekat saya.
Okay.
Mana yang ni?
Biasanya orang buat kerja yang mengadu.
Ya. Dia buat kerja banyak, dia mengadu.
Yang orang yang tak buat kerja tak mengadu.
Dia tak mengadu. Dia tak mengadu, tapi kadang-kadang dia akan, saya tak nak cerita je buruk dia.
Oh, okay.
Dia pun selalu hilang juga.
Okay.
Dia ada konflik dekat sini.
Okay, good. Alright.
So, agak susah jugalah.
Alright, thank you very much. Alhamdulillah, I think this is a good case. I think this is a good case because it does not evolve to the level of conflict that is not visible. Because from my understanding, my hearing, maybe you guys can pick up on it. And let me just clarify back with you. So far, that one person tak mengadu, tapi that one person does she or he acknowledge yang dia tak ada? Yeah. So it looks like, for example, it does not even state yang basically ada seorang tu have that slight feeling. One person has that slight feeling. So might be might be that person, that one person has a conflict within themselves because of the slight of emotions from that particular person, but that person has no ill will and that person has no, maksudnya, oh, I memang sengaja tak nak datang kerja sebab nak kena dengan dia. So looks like still it's one person, and looks like honestly solvable because it's still within that one person. Now you've talked to that one person yang complain to you, you've gotten all the facts, details. Have you gotten all the facts from that person, offending person lah, maksudnya orang yang tak bekerja tu?
Ada juga.
Ada kat jumpa?
Tapi dia rasa macam dia tak salah.
Okay, good. Maksudnya, so no ill will, bukan macam senario yang I sengaja tak nak datang sebab nak kena dengan dia.
Dia rasa dia buat kerja, dia rasa
Okay, okay, good. Alhamdulillah. So, maybe they are blissfully ignorant, right? But because I deal with them too, you mentioned how I charge my friends and my partners kan, consultant job kan. So the idea of it is that it's still that one person has that side. And I agree, it is valid, and we all have those people. It's just a saying because right now for me, if the works for the department, for the whole team is that you have to be a team player. If that person is a junior, maybe quote unquote lower wages, we just have to acknowledge daripada why is it? Oh, sebab saya nak kerja sebab setinggi gaji saya. Okay, good. If you want to have that mindset of earning 2k a month, 3k a month, even 5k a month until 2070, go ahead. See what happens if you earn 7k a month in 2070. Cukup tak cukup? You want to be stagnant, right? If you are the whole role of promotion, the job role, I think this is the Malaysian education system. It's not supposed to be, we're not supposed to teach adults this. They're supposed to learn this from kids. You perform better, you get better, but you have to perform first. That's why we don't give scholarships ataupun kita tak masuk sekolah based on quizzes. You have to score SPM. Bila you dapat result SPM, barulah you masuk universiti ni. Bila you sekarang PG3 doesn't carry much value now, but you PSR baru you masuk sekolah asrama ni. Universiti ni baru you pass sebenarnya, right? So they are not taught that they need to perform it. Maybe those are the arguments. Usually those are the younger generation argument, right? But still, maksudnya there's clearly right now is currently agreement. I agree, yes, that one person has conflict, betul. Personally slighted. I feel slighted, orang ni tak buat kerja. Maybe we're paid at the same salary, or maybe I just make a little bit more than her, but I do at least double the work, which is not fair, right? So that one person, he just doesn't have the same understanding. Maybe no ill will. There's no emotion. I don't detect any emotion. Kan? So usually one to one. Honestly, if you're ready after this program, group session, group mediation, right? Tak apa. Sebab maybe dalam kes tu, can I just assume that one person yang buat kerja tu gaji lebih tinggi, pangkat lebih tinggi sikit lagi sini? Sama. Alright, lagi senang nak mediation. Kata?
Dia sebab yang satu side lagi ni dia rasa yang ni asyik mengaju je. Sedangkan dia pun buat kerja. Dia rasa tak bersalah.
No, it's okay. It's okay. What metrics do you assess the job performance? Usually every department has their own metric, their own KPI. As I mentioned, the old guards are there for a reason. The KPI, the QC, quality control are there for a reason. What metrics do you distinguish performance at, right? So you can try to utilize those metrics.
So, sekarang pun kita tetapkan kerja lah. You nak pergi mana ke apa ke, make sure kerja banyak ni mesti siap.
Okay. Good. Nanti there's a bit of talk and there's a one quote unquote recommended books for you to bring home. Sorry lah, I tak boleh sponsor books. But yang bagusnya is available on Shopee and Lazada and ada banyak terjemahan. So see if they quote unquote have the same mindset, right? Boleh? So alhamdulillah, the first case is not that bad. It's only an intra-personal conflict. Yang that person is not sick in the head or something. That person is just having conflict by themselves because of somebody else slighted them, and it doesn't involve that other person, right? Not two or more person, right? Now, any other case? Ada tak yang case yang betul-betul dua-dua ni memang bergaduh konflik? Pemahaman dua-dua tak sama. pemahaman dua-dua tak sama, and the both parties feel slighted at each other. Any case? Puan Zalika nak cuba? Boleh? You see, it's very important for us to define the levels, then senang kita nak handle macam ni tadi. Right?
Dia kita tengok konflik antara senior lah.
Senior?
Senior memang dah senior betul lah.
Okay.
So which is
Age or pangkat? Sorry, eh?
pangkat.
Oh, pangkat, okay.
Seorang ni dalam berapa tahun lagi nak pension, seorang ni baru naik 22 lah.
Okay.
Tapi because diorang ada, saya pun tak faham. Diorang ni sebab pun tak faham kenapa boleh berlaku.
Okay.
So seorang ni put at me kerana-kerana people semua tak habis sama kawan dia lah. Dan satu lagi dia social worker, sebab saya dia social worker. So tapi dalam kes gitu ni macam kalau kata orang ni bersuara, orang ni ada yang tak puas hati. So ada lah macam konflik tak puas hati. So macam itu dia kerja kat sini, itu dia kerja kat sini. Saya rasa dia dua sama je sebenarnya. So dalam isu ni tak nampak lah. So kalau kata ini buat yang ini pula baik dengan ketua jabatan, yang ni tak baik dengan ketua jabatan. So konflik tu kita nampak dah kat situ. Dan kalau yang ni bercuti memang satu macam parti lah kat tempat kerja tu. Orang yang ini bercuti, yang junior ni, sebab dia sangat tegas. Dan dia pun ada dengan staff lain lah.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Okay, tadi we have quite extreme. One is very mild. I think this one, honestly, as I hear it, I don't know about you, as I hear more and more, the more complicated. Easily she started with senior. Senior, number one, changing the behavior of people with certain life experience lah. It's going to take another life experience to change it. It's not going to be that easy. Right? But Alhamdulillah, I don't have grandparents who smoke, but I hear stories from my colleagues, semua yang apa, Cik Ricky datang jumpa parents or grandparents, Cik Ricky orang, they don't feel like littering, and parents and the grandparents don't like them being lectured on. So it creates a quote-unquote toxic relationship. And then they always say to me, you orang kan berubah pun because they have been smoking for 40, 60 years. They're not going to change just because we say so, right? So family members, right? People will love that, right? So now let's observe. So does it qualify? Abilities of disagreement? Yes, I agree. Both parties disagree with each other, right? There's different understanding. If the pasal kerja tu terus ribut, right? And I detected a hint of emotion bila menuding jari tu. So it's emotional. Can I just ask, are they not professional at all? Maksudnya interprofessional behavior, not. Of course they've been paid. But are they being paid to act that way, or is it a bad habit of them? Okay, yeah. So this one, I don't know. I don't know what the scenario is, but would you assume this has been long-standing, more than 5 years? More than 5 years, more than 10 years? So it can be a span of 25 to 30 years. Because masa muda-muda dulu. Oh, okay. So it's 5 to 10 years lah, right? Alright, 5 to 10 years. Remember this cycle? This conflict cycle. The perpetuity of the feelings of the conflict happens, yes. But one thing that I don't put in the slide, because I don't assume it happened long standing. I hope it will be managed before then. It also applies with time. The more unresolved conflict that you have, yes, the worse you feel, it becomes worse and worse, becomes more toxic, becomes much more severe, lagi teruk. But I can promise you, with time, unresolved conflict, disagreements, okay. Unresolved disagreements, okay. I don't agree with certain government policies, okay. Hopefully when those politicians which I really like brings in the change, the government changes, yeah, I have hopeful because I am just disagreeing. I don't feel conflicted. But conflict easily becomes toxic and much more severe. The longer it becomes, the more deep-rooted it becomes. Akar-akar je dah masuk kat dalam orang tu dah. And you have to quote-unquote excise the roots. Susah. It's very embedded. It sometimes, from what I'm hearing, it becomes their personality. Their personality becomes that person who loves conflict, who brings emotions into the equation, who brings certain unwanted things into a professional setting. Right? Betul lah kan? Sampai orang happy kalau dia orang cuti. Kan? So it becomes like that, and it can become the person. So it works. So it's going to take a lot of work. So I'm sorry that we can't go through that right now, because that is advice for next one later. But okay, so we have both extremes. I dare not go for another one because I don't think we have takut tak cukup masa. Yeah. But yes, we have two people reacting emotionally. Ada sampai ada proxy war lah. I nak tanya, ada sampai proxy war lah, because sometimes these two people, because they are two seniors, two quote-unquote maybe supervisors or team leaders, sometimes they have people below them supporting them, sorak. Oh, I suka CA, oh CB, whatever CA buat dengan CB tu, I rasa tak ada. Kalau berlaku kat I pun nak bring myself into the equation, even though I'm not directly involved in the conflict, but I join the proxy war. It become an intergroup conflict, di mana ada puak A, puak B. They're not directly involved, but because of their quote-unquote leaders, they become directly involved, not indirectly, directly involved, right? Ada puak A semua kan. Aduh, patut kita ajar office politics kat budak-budak sekolah, budak-budak UC how to not do office politics, right? Professionalism in the workplace, right? 4 tahun tu macam-macam mesti belajar orang. And then when they're 52, I don't know their age or kan. But I assume they're probably above 40 or above 50 maybe. So again, and by the way, if this happens, let's say lah, they go on with their professional career, it can easily become intercollegium. Seorang kat UM, seorang kat UKM. Tengoklah macam ni. Kan? So it can become. So you see it, right? So this happens in stages. So right now with this case, of course, sadly I can't discuss right now. Okay, kita akan discuss after lunch. But you can easily see the progression, right? And in your case, Miss Mimi, in your case, if number one, mismanagement, mishandling of the conflict, or you just let it fester, I promise you that one person asyik complain je, that other person yang tak buat kerja tu, tak tahu apa, dia rasa tak bersalah, suddenly feels like, kenapa I asyik kena complain? Bila she has those strong negative emotions, she starts bringing it up. Sekarang, I sebenarnya nak memperbaiki diri. Sekarang I sengaja tak nak buat kerja sebab dia asyik complain, biarlah. Biar dia complain tu jadi benar. I selamatkan akhirat dia sebab I tak nak dia tipu, tak nak dia fitnah I. Biar I balas. So once dah sampai stage tu, okay lah, so masuk interpersonal conflict lah. So easily can become interpersonal conflict kan. So dah sampai stage tu, okay lah, so maksud you kena buat remediation immediately, because dah sampai level interpersonal yang the other person being cited is doing something negative because they themselves are personally sabotaging their own performance to slight the other person. Kelakar, they are sabotaging themselves to kenakan orang yang tak berdosa. Boleh So far so good, boleh understand Right. Now, not all conflicts are bad. We will talk about this, and in fact we will try to prepare you an activity on this after our tea break. But usually in a normal setting, you do have a conflict, quote-unquote a storming. Okay, a storming session. It's okay, don't I tak nak you baca awal sebab it doesn't make sense until after the activity. But ideally, in terms of two or more people, when you want to have the sum of the two potential, you would have a bit of disagreement because not all people are the same. Even if you have twins with the same parents, they will have different life experiences. There will be mismatches in certain areas, and when those mismatches happen, there will be a bit of storming. They will try to normalize, go in with the goal in mind, with the job descriptions, with the organizational goals, your department goals, and then finally perform with the total sum much more than their each individual effort. Right? Each individual effort would be less compared to the total sum of both parties working together. It's more than double. Right? Okay? So there will be, but when conflict happens, they will be stuck at the storming. And when toxicity happens, it will become negative impact. Of course, I don't tunjuk dalam model ni lah because I don't want to put it out there. But I promise you, if this is not fixed, it will be exponentially worse. You darat the power of negative E, right? It will become much more worse. So you can see the effectiveness becomes way down and the performance becomes way low, right? Or negative, right? It becomes much more worse. It feels like it's better to put that person out of our organization, either by firing or by disciplinary action or transfer. Tapi yang sedihnya, when we transfer somebody that toxic to another place, it becomes, that place is a severe effect, right? Okay, yeah, right. So interpersonal, as we have mentioned, usually 2 or more people. I would argue less than 5. Okay, why I say 2 or more people? Because sometimes, have you ever heard of the definition? The saying of Mexican standoff. Di mana kalau you tengok kat dalam TV ada 3 orang, dua-dua ada pistol pointing at each other, right? Sometimes it happens. Sometimes it happens. I don't know why it happens. Maybe because of your organization structure. Oh, kita jabatan ni ataupun section ni ada 3 bahagian. 3 orang ni ada leader diorang, 3 ni gaduh. Sometimes it happens. Right. Ada orang contoh tak yang di mana biasanya 2 orang lah. But ada tak yang di mana yang tak melibatkan puak? 3 orang, saya benci 2 orang, saya benci 2 orang, saya benci 2 orang. Ada tak? Dia bukan puak. Bukan 3 orang. Dia tak suka dua orang ni. 2 orang ni pun tak suka dia dengan orang satu lagi tu. 2 orang ni pun tak suka 2 orang tu. Ada tak? Ada tak? Sometimes it happens. Sometimes especially in small departments lah. Ada tak? But usually is one on one lah. Dia ada pairing je lah. Ada pairing je lah kan. Ada tak ni ada senang cerita kahwin 3, ada tak? Dia ni bertiga pula. Daripada pairing 2-2, dia bertiga pula. Tak ada? Sometimes it happens, Mexican standoff, but usually less than 5 lah. More than 5 dah berpuak. Usually when I mentioned when Zalika mentioned, immediately without even asking about the groups of people be involved underneath those 2 leaders, you can see the puak happening. Usually it's led by a leader lah. Ataupun dalam kes ni, when people are indirectly involved, sengaja directly involved, becomes their quote-unquote martyr. Maksudnya they idolize a certain person, and that person becomes their a representative of them, a self-elected leader for them, right? Okay. So, right. Okay. Now, causes, right? I sengaja tak put much emphasis on this slide. I sengaja ada gambar kan? I rasa tak ada gambar. Tak ada tulis pun. The others are nice to know. 95% or 90% yang the causes, you dah belajar semalam. You dah belajar how to prevent. You dah belajar the skills in order for you to solve those situations. Ineffective communication, miscommunication, those are the common cause. That is the primary cause of conflict. I promise you, if you even give that 2 heads, pensioners, senior people in front of me, I promise you, I can break down all the layers sampai tahap what was the first miscommunication. I I can promise you. Right? Huh? Yeah, sometimes saya bertahun-tahun kan. Sekarang kata, kalau yang tak ingat tu, I promise you, it's already become their personality. Macam, can you remember contoh lah, can you remember why you like ayam masak merah? Contoh, mak I dah bagi daripada zaman kecil tu. It's my personality, it's me. Memang orang tahu kalau I nak makan dengan I ataupun nak jemput I kenduri, kata kalau ayam masak merah, I guarantee datang. Contoh lah kan. Personality clashes, right? Personality clashes, it can be miscommunication, but sometimes it's a bit more of the identity issue. My identity clashes with that person. I really don't like that person, and I have been taught that it's not acceptable, and he is still the Gil, so adalah personality clashes. Right? Lack of trust, of course. Honestly, in all conflicts lah, there's zero trust for the other party. So one of the mediation tactics that we use is to slowly build trust, right? Usually we try to emphasize a bit on more facts. Contoh lah, in that case, Ms. Amy, if you want to quote-unquote test their beliefs, but you rasa orang ni yang sama pakai you, yang gaji you, dia kerja dia outperform you and complain about you. Do you don't have any trust in that person building their livelihood, building their career, just to work hard and complain about you? And will you trust them? Macam slowly, I mean, would you do the same thing? Oh, I would trust myself. I would, I would start my career, try to do good and try to progress my career based on good work ethics dan sebagainya. Don't you trust the same thing for that person? Adakah dia sengaja datang kerja, sengaja outperform you by all metrics and complain about you? Right? And knowing the person I am, I would look badly on those person. Right? So contohlah, you just layer by layer start breaking that false sense of there's no trust. Okay, betul tak? Sometimes macam takkanlah they will their whole life goal is to self-sabotage and complain about me, okay? So slowly build that person can be trusted, right? No person will go that extreme length just at this level of their career just to do that, right? Varying interests. This one is mostly on politics, office politics. I might add. Usually there's a certain fixed component, usually funding dan sebagainya. So they have varying interests, varying agendas dan sebagainya. Happens most in politics. In the government is not exempted. Usually they have their own agenda. Contohlah, if there's one promotion for head of department, definitely I want to sabotage the other person because I want to be the head of department. We both have similar experiences, similar achievements. Definitely I want that job. Contohlah kan, right? And incompatible goals. This happens even in the ministry itself. You notice the Ministry of Education has berapa banyak public and private institution. All of them are competing with each other. I know for a fact UM is very happy with UiTM's graduate employment rate. UTM is one of the better schools. They don't have good. They don't have good as Sunway and all the other private institutions. Why? Because they have thousands of students. Definitely they have hundreds of unemployed graduates. It's not going to be more than 80%. As Sunway, 98% employed graduates. Salary scale higher, right? They have incompatible goals. So I know for a fact. I went to quote unquote a state expo of education. Self-proclaimed Menteri Pendidikan Negeri. Most states have expo education. Dia put a subtitle Menteri. They go, kata, I have all of this money and my biggest competitor is UiTM Negeri tu. So when their numbers drop, I'm very happy. Even though they're in education. They're within the same ministry funding the whole university ecosystem in that state. So they have incompatible goals. Yeah, sometimes this happens. I promise you, even with the best of intentions, they are conflicting goals. Goals are too much aligned with each other that they affect our performance, or goals that are antagonistic to our goals. Right? Okay, right. So now let's do a quick activity. Quick activity. I nak minta semua. Okay, I will give you guys 2 minutes to discuss among your members. I need 3 examples on how easily miscommunication happens. Either 2 things. Somebody said something and the interpretation becomes totally off. One example that I gave yesterday, and you cannot do this. You cannot reuse my example against me. Give me another example. I need 3 examples. Okay? About how something is said or something is being done, and the outcome or the interpretation is totally something different. Contohnya lah, getting to hundreds of thousands of ringgit donations for charity or charity groups. Tiba-tiba nak datuk, nak cloud lah. The money is there, right? And of course lah, certain Tan Sri, certain datuk got get appointments based on their social charity work. Yes, but tiba-tiba orang ni buat kerja tak ikhlas, dapatkan duit, bukan duit dia, duit orang lain. To be fair, yes. To be fair, yes. Most of the money came from the public or came from yayasan, as opposed to his or her own money. And tiba-tiba cakap, oh ni nak dapat datuk katil percuma, nak dapat datuk percuma, nak dapat Tan Sri percuma, pakai duit orang lain. Yeah, easily something was said or done, but totally different interpretation by certain parties. Alright? This exercise can help you identify, number 1, common things that happens, common twisting elements that happens inside your own organization. And number 2, it hopefully can teach you on from your own experiences or from your other participants' experiences on how easily things can be twisted into something else. Right? I don't think 3 minutes is good. Let's just give you 10 minutes. 10 minutes, give me 3 examples. If those examples are not elaborated well enough, I don't accept. You have to stand up and discuss until everybody else is done, and then I'll give you a chance to sit down. Boleh I tunjuk this group, maaf sebab this group sikit. Okay? Boleh Alright. Discuss among other questions.
Earlier you mentioned that there's 2 things. One is something that can be misconstrued. Is there a second thing?
No. Just give me 3 examples about how one thing is being said and done, and can be easily influenced by or believed into something totally different. Right? Okay. Thank you very much. It can be based on experience. I would love it to be based on real life experience, so that you can teach your other participants. Right? Okay. Discuss among yourself. Now is 9:25, 9:35, semua dah 3 elaboration. Nak bagi case, bagi scenario pun I terima. Right? If you are uncertain, boleh panggil I to your table, okay? Angkat tangan, panggil I, and see whether I accept it or not. And please provide context, Please provide context for the scenario, because we want it to be specific and we want to be a lesson to learn for everybody else, okay? You don't have to provide names, you just have to provide the context for the scenario, okay? Should be a word I agree. The interpretation is twisted neatly to something else. Whereas the inner word is complete Satu. Lupa yang satu tu apa? Just to test lah. You have additional discretion and powers lah. You have at your own discretion you can do certain things. What is the quote-unquote so far you give me facts? What is the misinterpretation or how can it be interpreted into something else? So maksudnya they understand there's a certain accessible facility given to certain groups of workers. I've been disregarded when I want to say privilege lah. So maksudnya saya nak something yang similar. Saya tak, kenapa tak? I agree it can be interpreted in that way. Good. You can use that example. Very good. Right. Okay. Ini okay? Dah contoh dah. Okay, tak apa, bagi saya satu je. See if it fulfills the criteria lah.
Kita buat
Okay. How is it being done? And how is it being done betul? And how can it be misinterpreted? Maksudnya, kita buat orang lain bagi saya yang di Australia, it's a yearly thing. Always happen. Masih ada orang yang terkejut. Good, it's not a good sign. It's not a good sign for the organization. But it's a good example. Kalau boleh, in this scenario, I would explain kenapa dia terkejut. Because I would explain within normal organisation, raya, macam how can you manage leave? Very easy to, I mean not very easy. Common place in Malaysia tu but the box healthcare government section, I need to elaborate. But why the price? Kenapa ini masih impact? Because contohnya if I put this in PwC across the country, this happens. Just get finding people from ABC University. Macam tu kan? Because this is basically those good idea. Also on the kejut ini. Kenapa misinterpretation, misunderstanding happen? Even though despite this is a yearly thing, even if it's not a yearly thing, every 2 months ada big holiday. Takkan kalau lagi ikut Malaysia ada. Right? Any ideas so far? Good. Okay, you want to try one? Want to try one? See if it qualifies lah. Right? I agree. Easily can be misinterpreted. Very good. Ini saya try to elaborate on the quote-unquote the repercussions, what happened dan sebagainya, how the misinterpretation. Okay, very good, right? Yes, so you have to one more lah, right? Good job. Right.
Does it, can it all be actions? You seem to be able to think of actions better than words.
Good. No, it's something like what was spoken, what was said or done. So the action is done lah.
So we can have all the actions.
Boleh. Because action is happening because it is very specific. But words would help the exercise better because then we can easily pinpoint specific words, action words that can easily trigger misunderstanding. That's why I wanted to have it said and done. But of course, I fully agree with your example. But try to get something where easily you can help others. Oh, this word is becoming a problem. So because then you can help teach others. Okay. But action tak cukup, action pun boleh. Okay, ada contoh? Okay, let's see if we can try that. Okay. Bagi contoh lah, nak try. Brainstorm okay. Kita mau makan. Okay. Contoh unit lah.
Macam banyak
Orang yang buat kerja atau tunjuk orang yang I agree. The perception can easily be misinterpreted. I agree. Very good example. Right? Okay, semua ni kita right? Okay, we have one more minute left. Semua dah cukup 3 kan? Okay. Right. Ni cukup 3 kan? Okay. So the rest of you yang tengah nak discuss tu boleh discuss because we don't have a lot of time. Boleh continue discuss. In the meantime, I minta meja ni just share your stories exactly as you mentioned tadi, as well as 2 more stories kan? Ada. Okay. I think you did a wonderful job. Maybe it's better you start lah. Okay. Your explanation tadi dah cukup bagus lah. Okay. So siapa yang dah siap boleh dengar, siapa yang tengah nak brainstorm boleh brainstorm. Okay.
Permasalahan pertama adalah berkenaan jamuan makan. Bila jamuan makan tu yang dianjurkan oleh ketua jabatan. So bila ketua jabatan tu biasalah anak-anak buah akan datang lah. Kebetulan anak buah ni dia kena setiap kali ada jamuan dia kena kerja.
Dia tak dapat hadir.
Dia tak dapat hadir. So bila yang hadirnya yang banyak-banyak yang aktif tolong ketua. So dari situ perspektif dia akan fikir ketua tu pilih kasih. Asal dia buat jamuan dia ketuk bila ketuk buat jamuan dia kena kerja. Dia rasa macam dia terpinggi gitu. So di mana ketua tu lebih pilih pada yang banyak tolong dia sebab JPC tak tolong ketua kan. Itu yang betul yang pertama lah.
Okay, may I ask, is the misunderstanding or the misperception tu betul? Maksudnya is it really true that the
Benda tu betul.
bos main buat saja dengan sengaja target orang ni untuk tak hadir?
Bos dia biasa dia buat jamuan dia akan beritahu.
Dia akan fikir diri dia je. Dia takkan fikir pasal orang yang bekerja.
Dia akan fikir orang kerja lah. Tapi kebetulan macam mana?
Kebetulan lah, you mention kebetulan lah.
Kebetulan bila ada jamuan dia tak hadir, dia dah hadir.
Okay.
Bos dia buat jamuan. Time tu dia cuti, dia macam dia tak kerja.
Okay.
Tapi dia tak hadir, dia dah hadir.
I agree.
So maknanya dia ada reason personal dia yang dia tak mau hadir. Sedangkan bos tu tahu dia memang dia tak pernah hadir kat jamuan tu. Dia buat jamuan dia ada
Oh, okay.
tapi dia tak dapat hadir.
So it looks like saya macam bos ni macam bukan sengaja. Dia memang macam saya nak buat jamuan, saya tak pandai, saya main bagi tarikh, saya harap semua boleh datang. Apa? So, anybody challenge that person that feel offended?
Tapi datang pun fikir dia tengok bahawa ada staff dia satu ni dia hanya masa berdua dia kerja. So dia nak buat jamuan time dia tak bekerja.
Ya.
So tapi kebetulan orang
Kebetulan juga.
Kebetulan juga banyak betul lah coincidence. Kebetulan juga.
So right now it is clearly an intrapersonal conflict. Yang mungkin orang yang the offending person tu cuba sampai sebaik ataupun dia memang tak pandai manage jadual, which happens most of the time. You just fikir kena ada jamuan, and kalau boleh semua orang datang. Tapi I tak pandai nak tengok jadual orang bekerja, orang cuti, orang kena pergi keluar. So maybe if somebody yang bagus boss, can I help you pilih tarikh? Siapa yang pandai lah kan? Because we want to get everybody in. Ataupun orang yang tak hadir tu, boss, can I volunteer myself to help you with the next jamuan? We can challenge their perception of that person easily, insyaAllah lah. Tapi kalau orang tu jenis yang lain sikit, mungkin susah sikit, take sama confusing. But sounds to me easily we can challenge the misconception of that particular person yang offended. Okay? Alright, good job. Alright, next scenario, nak bagi orang lain ke?
Tentang pembelian lah.
Pembelian.
Pembelian
Pakai duit.
Pembelian biasanya kita akan offer 3 company lah.
Betul.
Tapi disebabkan ketua ni tak reti pandai orang tu tak pandai reti cari marketing punya yang supply kan dulu. So dijadikan benda tu so agent, orang yang sama. Kebetulan orang tu ada yang banyak company yang banyak support dia tu. So jadi dia akan jadi bila bahagian perolehan akan nampak macam dia bias lah.
Betul.
Walaupun benda tu bukan dia sengaja, bukan dia, maksud saya dari sini dia dengan company tu dia tak ada apa-apa interest tu lah. Dia tak ada interest, tapi disebabkan dia tak tahu nak cari siapa yang supply, so dia tak buka kepada 3 company tu yang jadi perolehan akan fikir dia bias.
Perolehan and certain people akan pilih, dia pakai orang dia je kan.
Betul. Kat situ lah. Yang ketiga berkaitan staffing. Ini biasalah cuti raya. Bila cuti raya ni gaduh antara staff. KJ boleh bagi dia cuti pre nyampus. Bila saya minta pre nyampus tak dapat jadi kelas dia. Biasanya cuti perayaan ni lah yang akan jadi konflik. Dia nampak KJ macam berpihak pada orang tu, lebih pada orang tu. Mentang-mentang di sini dia boleh dapat pre nyampus. Kita orang junior ni yang tak ada family, yang tak kahwin, tak ada family ni tak ada dapat pre yang boleh. Macam tu konfliknya.
Alright, thank you very much. Berikan tepukan dulu untuk Bernie. Thank you very much. Thank you Afif thank you very much Afif for the clear explanation. Satu je nak cakap lah, I think sebab I pun dah dengar sama, let me just address it outright lah. I think for the cuti, it's more of a question of the changing time. Zaman dulu family can survive on single income. Nowadays everybody has to survive on dual income. So maybe the younger generation, the ones that we have certain perception towards them, I can tell you right now, those 25, 26-year-olds, the ones that I personally train, saya ada ice breaking session, sharing session, a lot of them not even saving to start a family, they're just saving to get married. Saving to get married. Zaman I kahwin dulu, alhamdulillah we can get away with 15,000 ringgit. Jealous kan? Nowadays jangan harap lah, kemah saja 15,000. Emas RM5,000, makanan tambah lagi RM20,000. Sekarang if you want, sekarang ada venue wedding, destination wedding yang letak kat hotel tu, jual simple. So even I had a friend yang, my friend was quite young lah. My friend was quite young. She's a girl. Jadi I just cakap, alright, I can either pay you a wedding or I give you a terrace in Klang Valley. Sebab a wedding costed about 800,000. Mahal. Hotel wedding kot, majestic. If I was her, I would take the house. I just register, daftar kat apa Jais, daftar kat Shah Alam, and then okay lah, siapa nak datang hotel, kita buat destination wedding, siapa yang nak datang duduk hotel, just a small gathering. So we'll take the house, kan? But still, yeah. So they have dual income has to stay lah. So that's why one issue, cuti sekolah, what happens when cuti sekolah happens? Budak-budak apa? Both are parents. And more often than not, both works in the same ministry or the same government, and both don't have those flexible hours of work. So it's a need for them. So when it happens, you feel like, oh, I had a need. Why are you? And of course orang yang tak kahwin lagi bukan yang orang tak ada hak, tapi diorang pun ada needs juga. I want to distress. Bila lagi I nak distress? You nak bagi I masa small. But for me lah, for the single people, bagilah nasihat. Apa kata you ambil cuti a week after the raya, hotel semua murah. Tak jam, contoh lah kan. Back when I was single, I like that lah. Bila dah kahwin lain cerita. Okay, so that's one thing lah to address. Not to say to defend anybody, for something for you to understand better, right? Easily, people can take it personally, right? Okay, thank you very much. Move on to this. Ready? Right. Tadi dua kan? Okay, alhamdulillah cepat. Right, dah tiga dah. Right.
Okay. Saya bagi satu contoh. Nak baca ni
And whoever knows better lah. If it's her case, if it's his case, pass over to him. Tadi Afif wakil kan? Okay. But sometimes saya nak tanya soalan lebih.
Okay. Saya bagi satu yang perbuatan contoh dalam meeting. Semua orang meeting satu jabatan dan bos akan tanya siapa boleh buat kerja ni. Dan akan ada seorang tu yang asyik, saya akan buat, saya boleh buat, saya boleh buat. Sebab dia memang willing to do. Dia seorang yang sangat kuat bekerja. Tapi ada pula yang tak ada person, dah tak satu. Kan? So dia misunderstanding.
Saya bukan ada orang cakap ni dua group ni. Jangan cakap tau.
Nak show off lah tu, asyik dia buat kerja. So sebenarnya dia memang willing lah untuk buat. Dia memang seorang kuat bekerja.
Dengar alasan dia, willing, bukan nak show off.
And then yang ada perkataan contohnya kalau kita memang akan deal dengan kontraktor.
Okay.
So kontraktor bagi satu invitation jemputan berbuka puasa. Terus nak bagi rasuah.
Oh ya.
Kan? Tapi sebenarnya tujuan dia buat adalah sebab dia dah dapat tender. So tujuan dia untuk panggil adalah untuk kita lebih boleh bekerjasama lah. Just untuk bagi orang kata apa fokus untuk kita bekerjasama. Bukan rasuah.
May I address that because sorry to cut you off because tadi when Cik Afif cakap, I forgot to mention. Saya pada the last example was so good, I forgot to mention the second example. This is called freedom of choice. Tak salah, department semua. In fact, I dealt with two separate national automotive meetings. Sebab diorang ada macam-macam departments, diorang apa semua. Ada yang R&D, ada yang innovation, ada yang macam like you guys, middle managers dealing with coaching. So, three separate occasions. Tiga-tiga kali kena daftar, right? It's not to say that we don't know them or they don't know us. It's just to say that this is common protocol. The no-give policy is there in place, but realistically, the training department, they just want to build relationship, and it helps for you to learn and build relationship with contractors because this happened tau. Dia kata government GL 10,000. I know your price is 12,000. Can you please push it there supaya operation ni tak cancel sebab tiba-tiba the patient has to fork out another 2,000 ringgit. And then dia akan complain, saya kerja kerajaan, KKM pula tu, takkanlah saya nak bayar out of pocket. You nak pakai insurans saya. Insurans saya bila I dah pension nanti, benda yang tak cover, lepas tu suruh I cover, I ada insurans saya. Tapi benda tu tak banyak kan. So life threatening I akan pakai insurans saya. Tapi kalau this happened to my father, by the way, my younger brother, my sister, and my wife kerja kerajaan. When my father had a heart attack, 3 vessel disease, government approved GL 6 months after the fact, which is 5 months and 2 weeks after he will be dalam kubur, the GL will be approved. So he used his private insurance, 100% used up, even though qualified for GL. So literally, sometimes so that's why kita ada mentality macam tolonglah contohnya kalau dia subness ni kan, jangan langsung dia top up RM2,000. Boleh tak you push the price down? It worked. Jadi bila they push the price down, the GL was a business operation. So that happens all the time. Sometimes it's not about money, it's about value connections, right? Freedom of choice. You literally can say no, and if there is an input on bias, honestly, that happens all the time. Orang yang alamak, rutin dah pernah present orang ni. I literally happen. I suka tau. I suka these guys buat training. I suka pergi hotel dengan orang. Lepas tu kita buat team building lah. I'm one of the speakers. I suka. I have my own bias. Committee, you take over lah. I duduk kat luar. I duduk kat luar, you dengar pitching, and then bila you decide, I tak boleh decide. It happens all the time, right? This is from my own experience lah. But of course, there's certain process or procedures. It's freedom of choice. Takkan you nak tolak, contohnya lah, if one medical supply company is the best, tiba-tiba you nak pakai dengan Kapchai ni sebab alamak I sebab dia bagus sangat lah. I bias sebab dia orang asyik supply benda-benda yang bagus, kan? Freedom of choice. Okay, thank you. Continue. Right.
Kalau untuk yang kes tu kita ada interview untuk repair. So far okay je. Then the last one is okay, makanan. Contoh kalau macam contoh kita khusus macam ni lah, then ada disediakan makanan yang perlu ambil sendiri. Tiba-tiba ada seorang ni akan bangun ambil makanan untuk bos. Apa kita fikir?
Hey, I fikir baik.
So ada yang pemikiran ni dia akan cakap boleh bos lah tu kan. Tapi sebenarnya dia nak respect kepada bos, dia just nak nice dengan bos tu je. So itulah daripada kita macam
Kadang-kadang nak cepat habis. Bos bila nak makan ni? Sama lah tadi semalam saya kami pernah saya cakap ramai. Kalau orang tunggu saya kan kereta penat, dia tunggu saya kan, saya kena cepat sikit. So kadang-kadang bagi makanan, this is a queue, tolong makan cepat sikit Tu cara kita baik cakap dengan bos kan, tolong makan cepat sikit, orang lain pun ada kerja. Alright, thank you very much. I bagi group sini sikit lah. Okay, group sini paling banyak negative connotations Wan Fida, dia punya facial reaction dia, non-verbal reaction dia, orang ambil makan kat bawah saya fikir macam tu. So jangan ambil makan kat depan ya. Okey, siapa ada wakil? Ada wakil?
Davidan. Davidan. Kurang sikit kan? Nampak sangat over.
I fikir baik.
Perkara yang di tempat kerja saya, salah satunya adalah tentang waktu kehadiran bekerja lah. Yang semua tahu kita ada flexi hours kan. So kami golongan penyedia diberi sedikit kelonggaran sebab kita bahagian penyediaan kita dah tak macam kami di Makmal bukan buat technical part lagi lah kan, so management, so kita entitled untuk flexi hours tu. Tapi disebabkan kita entitled, so pekerja technician pun nak juga kelonggaran tersebut, di mana dekat tempat saya benda tu tak boleh berlaku lah sebab kami 24 jam kan. Staff terpaksa pilih, kita ada dua je lah, 7.5, 4.5 ataupun 8.5. Jadi diorang rasa, staff rasa macam management ni tak jaga kebajikan lah sebab ada certain orang yang kadang-kadang ada anak kecil nak hantar petaskar, so diorang nak masuk pukul lewat sikit lah, mungkin 8.10, 8.30 ke macam tu kan, balik lewat sikit. So kita tak boleh bagi kebenaran tu lah, sebab kalau bagi kita takut nanti apa ni, 7.5 tu tak ada orang. Takut orang ambil kesempatan lah. Selalunya staff-staff ni kalau kita bagi keistimewaan tu takut dia orang salah guna.
Boleh saya respon kan? Dari I nak cut you off sebelum your second tu sebab this one is also a common thing. Right, number one, most management, this is just coming from me lah, the other staff on the management side. I'm sure you get the same response. To be fair, I understand the concerns. That's why I told you guys yesterday. I dengar cerita lah kat HKL tu datang pukul 8, pukul 8.30, pukul 9 pun boleh, walaupun it's supposed to punch in at 9 because everybody understands the jam, right? I believe this thing is set in stone, but I think there's some wiggle room. There's some wiggle room in your organisation, right? If it's strong enough, create a policy where they can, because I think the taskas are evolving. Certain taskas dah buka pukul 7, tutup pukul 7. The taskas are evolving, right? So you either can send them early or pick them up late. The pride especially bukan ada kemas kat sini, kat KL tak ada kemas kan. Tak ada taskar percuma lagi kan. Semua taskar berbayar. Taskar dekat HKL masa saya datang saya pergi appointment ada taskar untuk staff. Kat KL ada. Oh, okay. Alright, okay. So, if it's a kebajikan issue, I totally agree that there is some willpower there. I can either foresee, either you change you hire orang yang anak-anak dah masuk universiti, or you change the policy of the timing, or better yet, ask the taskar to either do an expansion ataupun extend more. Sometimes like it's one national automobile company, they have a whole township, masjid, taskar, sekolah kerajaan tu sekolah kerajaan tu dia bina sekolah tu, kerajaan operate. Oh banyak duit lah national authority company. Semua percuma. Oh ada. Ada. So they are all within one community. Anak kat kerja sekolah kat situ, so everything dia tak ada rasa. To be fair, the mentality is kita tak nak orang datang nak buat kerja. Sanggup buat sekolah, sanggup buat taskar. Okay, but there's some willpower there, insyaAllah. Okay. Ini case ke? Ini case. Okay lah. Better you lah. Oh, dia punya case. Boleh. No. If it's your new example, baru you lah.
Okay, so dekat kecemasan medical assistant kita ada satu tugasan khas lah, kena jaga peralatan biomedical and then transportation of critical ill patients and then involving resuscitation with all the critical care ni lah.
Benda yang urgent lah.
Yes, anything urgent, anything yang kena cover the patient yang very critically ill, dihantar sana, dihantar sini, transportation and everything lah, termasuk equipment yang very high specialized equipment. So we need a specialized trained person untuk jaga tempat tu lah. So we all have almost 34 manpower, but not all of them can operate the machine. So they have to undergo training and everything. So we get a total of 10 people untuk training tu, and then so diorang yang akan buat rotation dekat resus zone, the red zone lah. But sebab tak ada manpower cukup, 10 orang tak cukup, kita nak rotate pagi petang malam, jadi diorang divided into 2 shifts. Satu shift daripada pukul 8 sampai pukul 5 petang, satu lagi shift dari pukul 9 malam sampai 7 pagi. So the person yang dapat 8 pagi ke 5 petang tu is actually office hours. So bila dah dapat office hours, of course they will get the public holiday, they will get the cuti raya and everything. So akan ada yang ketidakpuasan hati di situ di kalangan staff-staff yang tidak terlibat dalam specialized training ni dan tidak terlibat dalam this resus group ni. Jadi diorang rasa tak fair pada diorang. So basically that's the thing.
Right, thank you very much for your example. One more example before I comment for 5 minit. For the other group, saya mohon maaf after our kita 10.30 break Okay, alhamdulillah, so we have time. Right. Okay. So what other examples saya lagi? Okay, tak apalah. Nanti sebab I komen banyak, I benarkan Alright. So this one, again, it's supposed to be conflict management and emergency perception. Yes, there is some input there. But for this group, banyak I look it as more of admin and organizational management problem lah. This is more of not the right stuff because 10 orang I cannot. It's for the whole hospital as I assume. Emergency, which is feeding into the whole hospital lah. It's not like emergency unit dekat tertiary center or low risk center outside the hospital. Is within the hospital, is for the hospital itself, right? Look, I cannot imagine nurses being for the emergency ward, emergency department, 10 trained nurses because the keyword is trained to use those urgent equipment, and it's not like it's uncommon. Maybe uncommon for the whole general population of Malaysia, but it's quite common in the hospital because that's where these things happen and these things are feeding into by the ambulances, right? Okay. So, for me, some components of organizational management issues, I agree, but I totally agree with the macam cuti tadi. So, one, if you mention training is a solution, I propose training. Better because we don't want people to. I think right now the batches of doctor panggil hartal. I don't know if MAs or nurses are joining hartal. We don't want to be a hartal scenario where they feel that they need to demonstrate demand from the government, quote unquote. They refuse the training. The training is too burden. It's free training, and when you go to the private sector, you have extra qualifications. Free, provided by the government. Oh, okay. Honestly, ask Sunway to come in. They would give you free one. They would give you free because they would like the training. They would get a certification. They would like to use in their own facilities. I promise you that, right? If it's a staffing issue, training issue, there's one book I would highly suggest. If they think their life is gaji bulanan saja, they don't think 5 years, 3 years. It's one of those things. Please, send them to me lah. Send them to me. I nak tanya orang yang nak hidup stagnan semua hidup ni. I would like to see them and see how they survive in the real world. They have all this mentality issue yang hidup kita ni je, right? Anak kita nak masuk universiti ke? Let's say you're paying for Taska Tadika privately, 600, 700. You rasa those are the school fees? Few of my friends in Cyberjaya, they're not well off. They're M40. All of them pay for private school. 1,700 hingga 2,500 sebulan. Why? Because sekolah rendah kebangsaan dan sekolah kebangsaan Cyberjaya yang kelasnya built for I think 15 to 20. I think 20. Let's be because you guys are government servants. Let's be pro government lah. They built it for 20. Teka how many people in the classroom? 55. That's why they send the kids. Sekolah rendah kebangsaan. Hopefully only for sekolah rendah. Sekolah menengah dia orang expect to send to the government. Of course, being blissfully ignorant, it happens in sekolah rendah. Of course, it's going to happen in sekolah menengah, right? Because if you can check, you can Google sekolah rendah kebangsaan satu saja kat Cyberjaya, kebangsaan satu saja kat Cyberjaya. Sekolah sama penuh. You cannot enter that. Sekolah sama penuh. Sekolah sama penuh, different admission standard and qualifications. So I would very much like to see those people yang stagnant je, doesn't fikir about their career progression. See how they survive in right economy. Right? Boleh No, because sometimes they feel cukup duit. Yelah, for yourself. You don't want to start a family? Fine by me. You don't want to retire? Fine by me, right? So we can challenge their beliefs. But again, this mismanagement, to be fair, I would argue to those people yang sakit hati, kenapa there's a solvable solution. Berapa lama you hantar pergi training? 2 months. If you read by next raya we want this problem solved, we literally can solve this problem. if you guys have the power to take action. Right? If you guys want to complain next year, I am very much obliged to hear your complaints next year. You can even write your complaints now for next year, knowing full well what it would take for us to solve the problem. Alright, thank you very much. Right. Okay, so next group. Next group lah. Oh, ada soalan tak ada? Kita tak payah group lah. Mana tahu input apa? Alright, okay. This group. This group ada siapa? Fakir? Tak, anybody? Siapa ni get? Okay, sorry tak ada siapa. You ada satu case. Boleh. Okay. Mendengar? Boleh siap kan?
Yang melibatkan konflik yang melibatkan pertentangan idea. Biasanya konflik macam contoh bagi orang yang
Semua dengar there's a few keywords yang kita sebut.
senior, dia rasa dia punya idea tu sudah betul. Junior pula idea tu tak diterima pakai disebabkan dia junior kan. Sedangkan dia ada pengalaman yang lebih banyak di tempat lain. Junior. Tapi bukan junior yang terlalu junior. Maksudnya dia datang daripada jabatan lain ke jabatan tu, dia dah ada
Junior in experience and age, junior in the department.
junior in the department. Jadi itu menyebabkan biasanya kalau macam idea-idea yang dia utarakan, senior ni memang tak mau terima. Dia dianggap junior dan dia senior ni rasa dia lebih bersih.
The misperception, misunderstanding come from who? Orang yang senior tu salah faham ke orang yang junior salah faham? Ke benda ni betul-betul hakikat? It happens because it happens and itu betul.
Kalau nak ikutkan rasanya antara junior dengan senior tu, kalau dia bekerjasama, dia benda tu boleh jadi satu solusi yang baik kan. Tapi sebab yang junior, yang senior ni pun dia kata dia je betul masalahnya. Idea yang kita utarakan tu langsung tak nanti pakai.
Thank you very much. Very wonderful case. Ada lagi case lain?
Satu lagi tentang konflik ni biasanya melibatkan macam kenaikan pangkat.
Oh, ya.
Ada orang yang sanggup untuk diri dia naik, dia sanggup bunuh kejayaan orang lain di bawah.
Betul happening. Oh, your perception. Is it true?
Betul.
Okay, I address this two kan. Last one apa? Ada tiga case kan? Okay, kalau ada, do you know the case? Okay, let's wait for her. If dia tak cepat, nanti I will ask her for the details kan. Alright, for the first case, junior senior ni, and junior pun is just new in the department. Biasalah nak bully orang baru semua. This happens in the military, this happens in police academy, this happens everywhere. Alright, orang baru datang, tak kisah pangkat, it's still new for some reason. But yes, I agree. Both parties are at fault. They could easily be synergy. Remember what I said about the old guards, whatever, anggap orang tua ni the pillars, tak bergerak pun. Kadang-kadang dia tak ada pun tak apa. Tak bergerak pun kan. Datang kerja, tiang tu masih ada. We don't expect in the next 5 years that tiang needs to do something kan. But the new guys can, mana tahu, refurbish, make it much more slimmer, make it much more functional. But those two have to communicate with each other. There will not be an exchange of ideas until both parties communicate at the same level. This is going to be harder to achieve because orang tu pandang atas, orang tu pandang bawah. At the same level, then communication happens. That's when most conflicts are resolved. Right? There's a misunderstanding on both parties. Bagi saya dulu salah. Kalau dulu salah, dulu kena panggil mediation. I totally understand the office politics, especially dealing with certain heads, timbalan dan sebagainya. But there's no immunity. supposedly there's no immunity for leaders or heads of department. Even the PM, you can easily change the PM based on the power of the people, right? The people's choices. Easily change, tak suka, change, right? Ataupun they make enough noises, they push all the MPs and parliaments, push for snap election, do demonstration, they can change. So there's no immunity in people, certain people in positions of power. So it's not supposed to be in that way. It's not like my way or the highway. If it's really true, then become PM. Show us how good you are, right? There are certain avenues, official channels that should there's a lot of countries. I think even like apa yang kat Sedang tu yang tak kena tuduh orang sebenarnya dia head of department, kena investigate juga kan. So there's certain channels by the hospitals, by the ministry in order to do that. But in this case, it's not an abuse of power, it's more of a misunderstanding. It's just more like macam if you are willing to be the head and you are not planning to do anything, put your name to it. Yeah, be the non-performance, your performance. Right? And then kalau you nak you nak complain lebih apa semua, it's all within your power. You're the head kan? Okay, right. Next, your next case. Example. Tadi okay, good. Right.
Saya tempat saya ada unit dan hybrid dengan mesin.
Okay.
So kat situ ada dua kepala.
Jawatan sama.
Duduk ketua.
Duduk ketua, sampai panel sampai sama kan?
Lebih kurang. Bila satu arahan tu diberikan, kami yang bawah pun kadang-kadang terfikir nak ikut yang mana. Sebab staf di bawah terbagi diri juga. Di sebelah unit, baru lagi mesin. Dia macam konflik kat situ lah. Dua macam saya yang ada unit, saya akan refer kepada ketua saya. Walaupun push daripada mesin. Dia macam tu lah, konflik of management.
Thank you very much. Very good, Ms. Ella. Thank you very much for the example. This happens. There is a saying now. There's only one captain of the ship. Jarang ada two captains of the ship. I think there's certain reason. Usually, I honestly, I suka tau all of this quote unquote management conflict because it clearly we need to look back into the section, unit, mission, vision, and organizational goals. What objectives are they fulfilling? Are they doing two things at once, or are they doing one thing? If two things at once, why there needs to be? Why cannot be just one leader focusing on two avenues, two directions, right? Why do they have to have two leaders focusing on one thing, or two leaders focusing on separate things? Why not make two departments, two units? Right? There will always be that question in my mind. Why is this happening? Right? Now that being said, does it affect work performance? The overall KPI, objectives, work task, is it being completed day-to-day? Your leader, but under his KPI, all fulfilled. Yes, I understand. And then all the job scopes, even though the nursing is pushing you, the nursing section is pushing you to complete their goals or for you to complete yours. Why are they pushing you in the first place? Their goals. Should they ask for you for help for their goals? Oh, okay. Then it's valid lah. Maksudnya I think their concern is that you jaga you je. Kita pun ada KPI that kita kena bergantung on you to help us fulfill. So there's a logic conclusion with that belief. So it's not a misunderstanding, it's logical. But I believe if there is no clear direction, if there is certain processes are being set and done, and misunderstandings is still happening, they still keep asking for help, and we are told not to provide more help, or we are told to provide more help, we need to have that. I agree. Yeah. And then you can
you can shield yourself from repercussions based on the instructions of your head of department. I totally understand. But if it keeps happening, I would just log every time it happens. And just, boss, I follow you, but this keeps happening. I think you need to speak with me, because I don't want them to have this misunderstanding, misperception of why we're not doing this. Kadang-kadang yang fikir kita nak kenakan diorang ke, better you meet with me. That's all the power that I have. Just a suggestion, right? You cannot create you cannot cakap, oh nanti you kena jumpa bos saya. No, you just log in. This keeps happening. It doesn't interfere with my work, but I worry that it might fester into something else. It becomes scenario. Now, speaking of which, we move on to you. Okay? Next session.
Situasi ni berlaku dekat department saya sendiri. Orang individu A, dia tak puas hati dengan mungkin cara pemakaian individu C, tapi dia tak terus cakap dengan individu C, dia akan pesan kat individu B. So bila individu B sampai ke individu C, so jadi konflik lah.
May I ask, is it individu B yang cakap kat situ is a proxy ke, ataupun dia memang tak terlibat dalam situasi itu?
Macam ni, individu B ni dia adalah supervisor kepada individu C.
Okay.
So individu A ni dia tak ada kaitan dah. So dia bekas supervisor dan tak jadi supervisor dah.
Okay.
So tapi dia tak puas hati dengan individu C. So bagi saya dalam organisasi dan jabatan, sebab semua rakan sekerja, setegur je nak tak puas hati, tapi dia sampaikan kepada B dengan harapan supervisor ni akan tegur anak buah. So bila tegur supervisor ni, actually dia pun tak happy dia kena tegur anak buah dia pasal pakaian. Bagi saya tak ada
And why does he or she need to listen to individu A kan? Tak perlu dengar apa kan?
Sebabnya individu A tu dia keep complain pasal pakaian orang ni, so tak
Rasa jawatan tu masih ada
mata dia tu dia tak boleh. So jadi penting, ataupun kalau individu C ni bising, dia tak boleh tegur, dia akan pesan kat individu. So jadi konflik kat situ.
I agree.
So situasi kedua adalah
May I just add one first? Right. Thank you very much. I think very good example. This one is a clear conflict case. It's not like even real misunderstanding. You guys, kalau boleh jangan sampai level tu lagi. We want to, before it happens, the learning points for other people to share is to other people can catch certain things before it happens. This one dah too late lah. Dah sampai tetap proxy war kan. Dia tahu dia nak kenakan. I think from this story, if I'm not misunderstanding or mishearing things, looks like macam orang A ni dia bukan nak kenakan C, dia nak kenakan yang B tu. Sebab dia tahu dulu kerja dia apa, kena tegur, and kena terima tegur, and kena tegur orang tu. I tambah kerja B ni lah. Yang C ni mangsa keadaan. Mungkin dia tak berusaha, mungkin dia sedikit pemakaiannya sedikit tak kena sedikit. Not all, sedikit tak kena, mungkin tie dia tu ke, tapi I nak kenakan B. So clearly it's a conflict, clearly it's an emotional response, clearly it's unwarranted, non-logical response to something that should not be happening. Right? So clearly it's creating a quote-unquote, dia bukan proxy tau, dia sengaja buat B ni. Mungkin orang C tu kena proxy sikit lah, maksudnya orang C tu terkena terbias sebab asyik kenakan B je ni kan. Tambah kerja B ni, komplain dengan B ni kan. Right? Yes, yang A itulah. So maksudnya B kena, and then B kena buat kerja untuk C, tapi B tu memang tak nak kacau C pun, tapi dia rasa bertanggungjawab. So I totally feel this is totally conflict lah. There's no misperception, but sometimes it happens. So please be aware. Kalau boleh kita cari 50 viewers. This is too late already, so tak banyak kita kena baca. Okay. Boleh duduk. Okay.
situasi kedua, ni yang saya berhadapan sendiri, which is saya mendapat arahan. Contohnya saya dapat WhatsApp daripada somebody superior than me, and then dia kata, Zalika boleh dapatkan data sekian-sekian, saya nak sekarang. Okay. So saya tak tahu, maka saya bagi data kepada pihak terbabit lah tanpa, and then tiba-tiba ketua jabatan Orang satu lagi
Apa tak apa?
Orang satu lagi cakap Zarika orang ni minta data ni. Lepas tu saya kata saya dah bagi. So dia rasa macam tak happy. Sebab saya mana contohnya lah saya dapat arahan daripada seseorang untuk bagi data, tapi saya tak tahu pula, bos saya tak tahu. So saya bagi. And then sebab saya tahu saya dapat arahan pada pihak atasan, so saya pun bertanggungjawab untuk memberi respon lah untuk satu portfolio terbabit, sebab dia pengurusi untuk portfolio terbabit. So and then bos saya dapat tahu, bos saya minta saya data yang sama, tapi saya kata saya dah, and then orang pihak atasan tu bagi tahu dia dah dapat data pada saya. So my boss tak happy. So saya ingat tak happy, and then sebab bos saya orang itu lambat bagi respon. So orang tu lambat bagi respon, dia pihak yang atasan tu minta direct dengan saya. So this one tak happy, tapi saya assume, saya tak tahu pula yang ini benda yang sama.
Alright, thank you very much. I know there's one more case. Is it still with you? One more example? Okay, maybe you share about it. So just to address the elephant in the room, I think everybody lah, daripada Encik Afif, Encik Afan, we've been in the system long enough, we've been in the department long enough, we know how certain things work, right? Minta. Sometimes, honestly, maybe without any fault, kita strike person, kita minta orang ni, kita dah dapat dah.
Yes.
Even though the chain of command has to be respected. I know. But sometimes, certain people, especially leaders, they have their own ego, they have their own, this will happen. This one, with leadership, military, police, everything, dictator style, democracy style, there's a lot of ego and pride involved. So it hurts them. Macam, hari ni apa ni? Hari ni kita angkat tepi, hari ni kursi dalam bilik ke? Kenapa tak minta kebenaran kan? But it's not like it's quote-unquote illegal kan? Dia bukan minta data illegally nak jual untuk rootkit apa? What is the hacker rootkit hacker kan? It is warranted right. And to be fair, they did ask the boss, the person in charge, but maybe they know, maybe they know, they say, of course lah, saya pernah seminar ni, saya pernah jamuan makanan kan. Of course tak apa, let me just ask the person in charge. Maybe that could be the way to do. Instead of, boss, I dah minta you, I know you're busy. I manis sikit I know you're busy. If you want, would it be okay for me to just ask this person that I receive your approval dengan perkataan tu? You approve, you benarkan saya. Padahal dia kena benarkan, tapi tak apalah. Benarkan saya untuk ambil data ni daripada person in charge so that I can do the respective work. Setuju kan? So, few keywords that you can learn. Of course, this is clearly from dah sampai conflict stage. Few keywords, they just want the power to give you permission. That's all. Certain people, certain leaders, that's what you should do. And hopefully, because to be fair, this is not really a purview to solve. You're supposed to solve underneath problems. So hopefully, kadang-kadang kalau you kata, nanti kalau you nak deal dengan department ni, you boleh tak you tak kenalan. I tahu orang ni macam masalah tadi. Untuk you senang kerja you, nak kita senang kerja, boleh tak? Bos kalau you nak hantar email ke? Okay. Cuba cakap face to face. Kalau you nak hantar email, kita hantar email. Tak apa. Type seminit je kan? Okay, do you have a case? Okay.
This is A, terima arahan daripada B. B is the immediate supervisor for A.
A terima arahan daripada B, okay. Proper lah.
So B is the immediate supervisor. Okay, so A pun buatlah task tu. Okay, tetapi somehow rather B ni cakap dengan A, okay, ini you buat within the group only. Okay, big boss tak payah tahu.
Okay. Alright.
Tapi somehow rather big boss dah tahu. So big boss call A, tanya, kenapa you buat benda macam ni? Kenapa tak cakap dengan saya? So A ni like in between.
Dia tak cakap B suruh.
Lepas tu baru A cakap lah. A terpaksa cakap lah. B cakap, jangan cakap yang lain. Macam
So B explicitly said jangan beritahu our superior boss. Jangan beritahu C.
lah.
Okay. Alright, okay. Alright, okay. To be fair, I see this one of office politics. Yes, this one is clearly intentional. There's no hidden meaning behind it. Clearly intentional. So, but I understand. Sometimes, okay, let's make it a lesson. Kadang-kadang mungkin niat dia baik nak cepat. Bos tak sign off, bos pun sibuk. Bos pun macam-macam lah, apa semua. Jamuan pun tak planning lagi apa semua. So, for us, nak cepat, jangan beritahu B cakap dengan A, jangan beritahu sebab you kita pakai for me senang saja. If is A under your supervision, B under your supervision, no. No, it's not under you. Okay. I know, I took that, but BBC is not under your supervision, but A and B is not under your supervision. Maksudnya you tak boleh bantu diorang, you tak boleh tolong diorang lah. Okay, good. Well, I need to ask you because there's certain things I can do. Okay, since you cannot do anything, the proper way for them lah to handle this, not you because you cannot be directly involved. For them is number one, why don't they create a system where the boss sign off on everything, but you know what the bosses want. I think all of you that's your forte by doing middle managers, supervisors. That's your forte. You know what is the norm, not the norm of whatever is in the textbook. You know what is the norm in your own department. Bos biasanya akan sign pukul 3. I know certain people in multinational companies, secretary dia buat kerja pukul 3 petang. Sometimes I tanya dia buat apa? Orang semua complain apa semua, but yet she does her job. Why? Because she knows her boss comes in and work at 1 PM. Buat apa datang awal pagi you? Literally orang semua complain, duduk kat coffee shop lah, pergi shopping lah, pergi lunch dekat luar lah. Yelah, bos datang pukul 1. Pukul 3 I set everything, I sign dia, I harass dia. Pukul 6 I patut pancat, I still harass dia. Tapi I seronok nak hidup I pagi-pagi tu. So nobody can complain in a multinational company yang orang ni tak buat kerja, right? So I think the way to do is you understand the process. That's why the process of communication is important. You understand the work process. So if the boss still needs to give the final say, okay, how do we make it easier? So you change the process of communication into the work process. Okay, what are the steps? One by one. That's why sampai tahap yang secretary, director syarikat multinational company datang, literally can come into work at 1 and nobody will be pissed off. It will not affect the performance at all because that is the norm, right? Dia tahu dia datang pukul 1, dia nak solat, dia nak makan kat dalam bilik apa semua, dia nak buka email. Pukul 3 I rest. Pukul 3 I sibuk I meeting. Pukul 3 suku. Yelah. Mesti penting kalau you keep harassing. Okay? So they know the work process too, right? Sometimes it's a person, sometimes it's the department, sometimes it's all the people involved. Tak apa, yang paling penting sekali the work gets done, right? Right. Thank you very much for the example. Last but not least, group ni Tahir. Alright, thank you very much. Saya mohon maaf. We save the best for last Alright, okay. Alright, tolong bagi yes.
Assalamualaikum, saya Atika. So yang pertama, bila kehendak berbeza.
Okay.
Contoh macam roster raya tadi lah.
Jangan
Bukan roster raya tadi. Contoh bila memanglah raya tu tiap-tiap tahun kita dah tahu dah giliran siapa. Tapi kadang-kadang satu tahun tu masalah yang datang tu berbeza-beza. Contoh macam tahun ni kita kekurangan staff sebab staff tu kena pergi kursus. So dia automatik tak ada dalam board, so dia tidak dikira. Tapi tahun lepas dia dah raya, so maksudnya kita dah kurang kat sini. So ada pula yang MC tahun ni, tapi tahun depan nak raya juga. Sebab dia kata MC tu MC dia sakit, dia tak raya. So yang ni dia nak raya. Macam tu.
You guys in the medical field.
Lepas tu ada juga macam tu lah, contohnya bila masing-masing tak puas hati lah kan. Aku nak macam ni, kau pun nak macam ni. Jadi kat situ dah ada miscommunication, lepas tu buat muka dan sebagainya. Itu yang pertama. Yang kedua, bila kita passing report, orang yang ambil report daripada kita tu tulis dia tak ambil report yang betul. Macam sambil lewa, tak fokus. Bila kita pass tu dia macam tak tulis. So kita yang pass ni pun macam dah tak ada mood dah. Itu satu. Satu lagi maklumat yang kita bagi tu tak dapat disampaikan dengan betul. Jadi bila masa akan dapat efek pada kemudian hari. Contoh macam kita patient ni kena beli ubat, tapi dia tak ambil yang itu, kena inform family untuk beli ubat dan sebagainya. So bila ada satu hari kita check memang ubat dia dah betul-betul habis, so kita terpaksa inform family masa tu, dan family akan mana kita. Kenapa last minute you bagi tahu? Kenapa tak bagi tahu ni? Orang yang tak bersalah yang kena marah. Jadi dekat situ pun kita dah jadi macam Yang ketiga bila situasi dia bila you ada banyak ketua, ada 2 ketua dalam satu unit. Saya fikir
Tak dulu. Tak macam tadi lah saya cakap lah.
ada 2 ketua dalam satu unit, dia akan jadi konflik bila contohnya dia ada ketua, in charge dan staff.
Yeah.
Okay, any masalah yang in charge ni dia tahu dulu, and dia jadi konflik bila ketua A ni dia jenis yang suka ambil tahu semua benda. Dia harus tahu semua benda. And ketua B ni jenis you ada in charge dan dia beri sepenuh kepercayaan untuk you settlekan apa masalah yang you boleh settlekan within your level. Okay, jadi isu bila in charge nak inform satu masalah, kadang-kadang sistem ini ketua A ni bercuti. Yang ada ketua B. Rasa lah cerita-cerita habis ni ya.
Macam kenalnya kau.
Walaupun dia bercuti. Okey, sedangkan ketua B ada kat situ, dan jadi isu bila in charge bagi tahu dekat ketua B, dan dia akan cakap, oh I don't want to make any decision because A might not like the decision whatever I buat. Itu isu dia. And then to be honest, ketua A dan ketua B diorang tak sependapat. Dan the issue sekarang ni, in charge kadang-kadang pening. Macam mana you nak bagi tahu A ke nak bagi tahu B, sedangkan you tahu ketua A tu bercuti. Bila kita nak bagi tahu ketua A yang sedang bercuti, kadang-kadang dia akan cakap, oh I'm on leave, bagi tahu dekat ketua B. Bila I bagi tahu kat ketua B, dia akan cakap, oh I tak nak buat keputusan sebab ketua A mungkin tak akan setuju. That's the conflict.
I totally agree. Actually, the second and third case has very common themes, right? Ada yang ada terbuka lah kan? Okay, tak apalah. Siapa yang tahu tu, anggaplah tak tahu kan? Right? Okay, tak apa. But for the first cases, thank you very much. I think I heard the first case from them, and then Bapak Afif share lah. So that's why the same issue. And I already addressed the issue. I think there's some power to it, because at least everybody knows, and don't be stressed so much, because there's certain actionable items to help you with that schedule lah. And of course, I totally understand. You guys are not robots, bukan kilang. You guys need your own break and your own duty. The second and the third example is actually the continuity of responsibilities. That's the common theme, right? The continuity of responsibility. The first, as you say, the first instance ataupun the second example tadi was that you nak transfer the responsibility to the next shift, right? Next rotation, right? Now masalah kita, standards differ widely. Your standard versus when this is time lah, the time progression. When you pass, dia boleh orang bagus, orang tak bagus, orang yang sangat bagus, orang yang tak bagus langsung, yang fresh nursing student ke kan. So, for me senang saja. You can create a system whereby your standards are upheld every time there's a switch. Kata macam tu. Kata for me macam ada ubat, there's even a certain checklist. There's a management checklist for you guys to follow. I can give some guidelines. Basically, what do you need to pass over to me? What do I need to continue? What do I need to note of? So you can even create a checklist sampai tahap macam tu if it happens quite often. If it suggests by the management, can we implement this because this happened? And if this happen one more time, I'm going to say to the complaining patient's family, kata, it's not my fault. It's not my fault. You tak ada hak nak marah I sebab I bukan buat salah ni. I nak komplain lah. Tolong komplain kat menteri, tolong kat semua. This keeps happening. I don't know what to do. I don't deserve your abuse. Contoh lah. Because it can easily happen, kan? So of course there's an emotional response, but you can highlight the severity to whoever is in charge. Because it's not acceptable. Because for me, if you want, I can lower my standards. Please allow me in written form to lower my standards so that I feel that I'm not abused. Contoh lah kan. Jangan sampai nak macam tu lah kan. Professionally lah kan. You can sit down, have a calm discussion regarding about that, right? On the second example is basically ada orang tu, if they pull the trigger, they make the decision, they pull the trigger, they are solely responsible of the outcome. The person who is not willing to make the decision because they don't have the full context of everything. That's why they are very resistant to make a decision. Because if they make the decision, they bear the full responsibility, not knowing the full context of the whole situation. It's valid, it's very valid, right? Now, so for me, it's very simple with the conflict. Those two people, whenever they want to rely on each other, please set some ground rules, right? If there needs to be two people in charge in that particular department or that particular setting, and one or the other is not there, somebody has to pull the trigger. What are the guidelines? What would you like to do? No management, no changes. Okay. Whatever. Right now, I think the average cost rate for inpatient hospital in Malaysia, I think is what, one person, one bed is about 10,000 a day. Is it? Okay. We add on to the government budget, 10,000 a day for all. How many patients in your ward? In your care on a day lah, 25, 30, 43. So put on another 430,000 ringgit budget, additional budget for government wastage in this department. I think there was a study around 5 to 10,000 ringgit per government hospital inpatient per day. All inclusive lah, doctor salary, financing costs, building costs, park guard costs, elevator, electricity bills. Yeah, it's cheaper to go to the private. Honestly, I think the government did a study. The government knows it's cheaper to send to the private sector. I'm not playing spot lah. Okay, so yeah, please explain the budget surplus. No management. Contoh lah kan. So it cannot be that. I'm giving you the extreme example because if everybody wants to have to say, they say that is the solution. Budget we have to request more budget for non-action because we're just waiting for the day and we're paying people to just wait. Right? And when a patient can easily be discharged that particular day, we're just adding an extra day just because nobody wants to take action. Right? So that is the repercussions. Hopefully, okay, certain things outlined clearly. Maybe there's additional input from doctors, from other or the manager A can communicate to manager B. Cuti, can you manage this? Contoh lah kan. There needs to be a solution. But either way, those two needs to put their heads together. Tak boleh nak minta kita settlekan masalah diorang. Right, thank you very much. I apologize for extending a bit over 4 minutes of your break time. Thank you very much for your discussion. I want to summarize effectively, but I try to do my best within 1 minute, but hopefully I can summarize properly after the break. The key idea of these exercises, if those of you who listen to your peers, they are all of the stories, action words, those are precursors for misunderstanding, precursors for conflict. Those common words that are being used over and over again with regards to the scenarios, and those action those actionable items, what was being done. Contohnya the act of ambil pinggan, bagi bos dan sebagainya. Those action can easily create misunderstanding. Ada orang yang dah senyum tu maksudnya dia betul-betul percaya lah. Betul percaya. Buat lebih, minta bodek lebih maksudnya. Okay, so those actionable items easily leads to misperception and misunderstanding. And common things are common. That's why certain people laugh when I ever said ambil pinggan. Senyum je kan. Because they truly have those perception. That's fine. So try to prevent that. Okay, try to prevent those things. So inshallah I will properly summarize after the break. I'm sure you guys are already starving. So please, right now is 6 minutes after the fact. So please come back at 11:06. Right? Thank you very much. Please have a nice break. The misunderstanding is right now Alhamdulillah it's misunderstanding. Konflik kalau dia actively do this, ada proxy government kat dalam department tu yang kita benda ni kita sembunyikan daripada bos sampai nanti benda ni kita just beritahu. It's a misunderstanding kan. Saya rasa tu nak buat kerja cepat from thinking positively, but even if it's in negative context, yes, just misal kata benda ni akan lama lah, benda ni akan kemudian orang cepat. Benda yang simple nak remeh-remehkan. There's a misunderstanding on the capacity of that person to solve it quickly and effectively. Yes, I truly person kita at our capacity kita fikir kan, dia kena fikir responsibility of the organisation, benda-benda yang kena viral kan, benda-benda yang kena tangkap Saudi. So bosses have fikir kita lambat. Yeah, misunderstanding. And that's it. If the boss needs to find a seat, what can we do? When you work up a process or workshop, even a checklist on what the bosses will sign off on, one of the things will be, can this back us back in the ass later on? Tukar benda ni become medical legal. Take your time on this. So, benda ni simple bos. Out of 100 things kita buat benda ni, 100 things kita buat benda ni, tak ada satu masalah. So, the rule of 100 paling senang. Kalau kita buat satu sekali benda ni no issues, tak ada apa-apa. It's common place, it's common procedure, it's standard procedure. Boss, I've resolved all your concerns. Dia nak cepat, tak percaya. It's totally understandable. If this happens, the way to address it is issue. Kenapa you tak sebut? No, saya nak cepat. What is the issue? Okay, person issue. Don't ask the person first. Person later. Issue. Kenapa you supersede your manager to reply as the boss? Because the boss has the final say. Okay, do you think that I should have given my input? Boss is this person. So then what? Good. It's not like you don't trust me, you nak cepat kerja cepat. So easily the issue is there. And then understand the issue first before understanding the action, the person and the motives behind it. And then sebab lambat. Okay. Then it becomes person to person. Okay. You don't trust me. Okay, so it becomes personal to me, alright. Okay. It happens all the time, right? In big companies, in government, especially in government, because I cakap terus terang lah, out of survey, 100% of you would say that you're not paid enough for the role that kerja, masa tak cukup, kerja banyak. So you cannot blame people wanting to efficiently and effectively do work fast. The keyword is efficiently, effectively. If they want to do work fast for the sake of doing it fast, that's the wrong way to do. Efficiently, effectively is the keyword. And in their mind, they think that they understand the process and they oversee certain things.
Oh, okay.
No, the first time it happens, can address the issue. If you banyak kali happen and you in the middle managers let it happen, then it becomes a precedent. It becomes the new procedure. honestly, if orang tu biarkannya, it will apa nak buat kita sebelum ni kita tak buat, okey je. Okay, so if it happens the first time, issues, address the issues. If it's been long standing for years, it's too late. It has become commonplace, common procedure for us to do certain things a certain way, and you're not involved in it. 2 years ago you were involved in it, now you're not involved in it. Kenapa nak tukar? That becomes the new standard, kan? So for me, it's issue first and personal. That's the issue first. And most of the time it's a misunderstanding. Oh, I ingat cepat, so easily corrected. And then macam I akan kosong kan, it becomes like that, and it becomes personal, it becomes a conflict, it becomes emotional, easily, kan? So my advice is, if that happens, issue, kenapa? Most of the time in a professional setting, certain people we don't know, kan? It becomes a very simple macam, oh, I nak bekerja cepat, I ingat ni cara kerja, I ingat you're wrong, I don't mind giving you fast. This is my requirements. Very simple. Sebab dia lompat satu level. Oh yeah, it becomes suddenly orang ingat proxy pula, totally understandable, easily can with proper discussion kita, okay, I actually trust you, especially seniors lah. Seniors nak buat kerja cepat, dia orang dah tahu kan, I trust you to do this, just keep it in. So the boss kita dia nak dia settle, I don't think I need your input, I'm just going okay, I just want to go. So ataupun awal okay, after this you don't need my input at all, terus dia go with boss. I promise you, banyak benda-benda ni yang nak cepat ni, semua banyak yang non MA, non-nursing, non-MA. Kadang-kadang benda macam jamuan, kadang-kadang benda yang macam clerical yang you are not taught at school. Yang di mana macam oh, I don't need your, this is not anything medical related, this is just management and administration, let me just settle it. So most of the time it's like that. Definitely kalau your expertise and your experience nak pakai, you nak senang pakai you nak cepat. Tadi tak sempat question about macam this, the pemahaman. Again, the misunderstanding is that I faham nak kerja I lagi cepat kalau I faham yang you are okay with this and you don't need to give an input lagi cepat I just go. So it saves me a meeting, it saves me 15 minutes to 1 hour in the process. Pemahaman dia, my pemahaman is that I am the guardrails for you so that you don't do things that are, number one, not within norm. Number two, you langgar proses, langgar procedure, we have to restart back everything and we have to do an incident report why certain procedures and protocols are not being followed. So we are making things, kerja 3 hari jadi berbulan-bulan sebabkan ada incident report. Contoh lah kan. So dia orang fikir nak kerja cepat. So kadang-kadang you just correct those misunderstandings, it will resolve everything. And alhamdulillah, so far it's misunderstanding. It's easy to correct misunderstanding, right? Show proof. Kita show proof. Kalau you kata boleh cepat, okay, these are my demands. Checklist A, B, C, D. You nak buat kerja cepat, these are my demands. Pergi juga break boss. Okay? Senang nak.